Hey, welcome to the second part in the SUPboarder downwinding video series. This time we're going to be doing a video blog talking you through how to plan and carry out your first downwind paddle, thinking about locations, the weather conditions, and what you need to do to get you downwinding for the very first time. So to go downwinding, obviously you need wind. So you're going to have to keep an eye on the weather forecasts and understand when are the windier days, when are you going to be off, when are you actually going to be able to go downwinding. Now for this day we had a Thursday morning on the cards for us. We knew that the wind was coming in and it's been really blowy at the night. Here you can see there's two forecasts. One forecast is from Magic Seaweed and the other forecast is from Wind Guru. It was really windy in the evening, strong southerlies, and then it was switching to more of a southwesterly wind direction at 9 o'clock. And there was due to be a lot of rain when it was a southerly wind direction, and then the rain was meant to stop and even brighten up as it goes into the southwesterly wind direction. There's a good amount of wind forecast, both forecasts saying pretty much the same thing. Obviously the Magic Seaweed forecast is reading in miles per hour and the Wind Guru forecast is registered in knots. But it's basically saying 20 to 30 miles an hour or 20 to 30 knots. So they're a different reading, but they're basically saying fairly windy, around 25 miles an hour. So there's our weather forecast for the day. We're looking at going somewhere in the southwesterly wind direction, and then also with Magic Seaweed you can see the tide there in the bottom right hand corner. The high tide, because we're doing an estuary paddle, a river paddle, was pretty much 10 o'clock. So we were looking to go paddling at 10 o'clock and go somewhere with the wind in a southwesterly direction. So this is a map of our local area. You can see we've got our coastline down here, and the wind is going to remember from a southwesterly direction, which is basically coming from here, across over the coastline, over the cliffs, and down this way across the main land. So we're looking for somewhere to go from a point A to a point B directly or pretty much downwind as much as possible. So straight away you can see it gives us a few options. We've got an open water place here, maybe starting here and going down to here. Now that's going to be great obviously for a more of an open exposed downwinding, but bear in mind this is our first downwinding, so we want to start off safe, something easy to do and very easy where we're not going to miss our exit point. We're going to find it really easy to go from A to B. If we zoom the map in, we could have launched in this estuary here and gone to maybe a point like down here and funneled our way down to here along this coastline here and around here. Would have been super safe, would have been fine to do, but at the same time it wasn't that long. It's not actually a huge distance, so we would have probably covered that in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And also we wanted to have a little bit more swell, a little bit more fetch from the wind where the waves would start occurring, so a bit more distance that the wind would be travelling over the water to make it choppier. So another location we looked at was a potential of going down this estuary here. So remember, high tide 10 o'clock. So this map here is showing a bit of the sort of low water mark here. So the tide will be fully in, and we know there's an entrance point in the car park here, and we know there's an exit point in car park here. So we've got a clear route of down the river in this area here and obviously coming around the corner. And bear in mind we will have a slight headwind coming up into here, but it's not very much fetch, there's not much distance for the wind, so it's going to be easy for us to paddle upwind or shelter along this coast to get back upwind. And the other reason we're picking this route is we have actually paddled this before, so we've been very aware of what it looks like on the water, where to get on and off if you can't make it to your exit point. So we are aware of the location and what it looks like when you're paddling it. And definitely it's worth doing it if you can paddle somewhere when it's no wind or maybe flat water before. And then when you go to do downwinding on it, it doesn't seem so much of a challenge. You're really more relaxed of the location and you can be more aware of the conditions, or then you just enjoy the journey of going from A to B much better than worrying about if this is the place to get out, where should we go, and things like that. So just to recap on the wind, we've got a southwesterly wind that's going to be travelling directly downwind here all the way with us, and we know the greatest amount of fetch, or the biggest parts of where the waves are going to be the biggest or the swell will be the biggest, will be around this area here, because it's had the most distance from this point to this point and there's no land in the way. So here would be obviously further downwind, but there is land in the way, there's boats in the way, so the swell and the chop isn't going to be as big as it is in this area here. So let's get on, let's get our boards packed, and let's get to these locations. So first clip you can see here is me putting my shoes in the van at the exit point of the location. It's really important to show that you've got to have all of your clothes and the stuff you want to get changed in the vehicle you're going to be going home with. So we're just driving to location, the sun's come out, which is great, proves the rain has stopped and it's kicked in the proper southwesterly wind. There you can see the river we're going to be paddling along. Definitely want to check your height barriers before you're getting in. Good way to write off £4,000 worth of equipment in one go. So here we are at the location, lovely, sunny. We're at the top of where we're going to be launching. We're going to get ready, get all our kit off, get it all unpacked, and make sure we've got everything to take with us. So the two boards we're going to use for this, we've got the SIC Bullet and the SIC RS. You can do this paddle on any board. This is just the two boards we've had, and to be honest, we've got these two boards in the shed and we just wanted to use them. I always have a bag full of stuff, and I know that all of my safety gear is in there, all of the phones, car keys, everything is in there, all the stuff we'd need. Lay it all out in the grass, get it all ready, make sure you've got everything. So let's have a look. We've got PFD, personal flotation devices, 2 of them, got a hat to keep warm, we've got an extra leash, got a roll of duct tape, gorilla tape, which I'll explain about in another video. We've got a whistle, got some mobile phones and roof rack straps as well, and not forgetting the keys. Had to remember the roof rack straps here for us because we didn't have 2 sets and we get to the other end and wouldn't be able to tie the boards on the roof. So this is how I set up my PFD. I slide my spare leash onto it, I have a roll of tape onto it for emergencies and other uses, and I make sure it's all around there. Yes, some people will argue it and say this might be a hindrance having it on you if you have to use your personal safety device, but at the end of the day it's my choice, and I find that this is the best place I can have this two-hand on me as easy as possible. We did lock this paddle on GeoSUP so you guys can follow it. You can find where we entered, where we exited, and all the information around it too, and our speeds and stuff. So check out that on the GeoSUP app if you want to find out more about this exact paddle. It's also great to reference, to look back on, to see what speed you were doing when the swell was picking you up, just stuff like that really. So Lucy's getting ready. Another point to mention about the two boards here, as I said before, it doesn't matter on what kit you take, as long as both paddlers, if there's 2 of you in this case, are on similar speed equipment. There's no point in me paddling a SIC race board and Lucy on a 10.6 inflatable, because we'll kind of quite easily get apart from each other. So paddling off the estuary, you can see it's nice and flat. We're going to basically head straight out in front of us, then the wind line will catch, and then we'll bear to the right and then go down the river that we've just seen on the map originally. So you can see it's pretty flat to start with, there's not many bumps, but we're right at the top of where the wind is hitting the water, and as we move further down it'll get more and more choppy and there'll be bigger waves as we move downwind. So Lucy's opted to wear a sort of neoprene top and her summer wetsuit. I told her she'd be too hot, and she's got a neoprene hat on, but she didn't want to get cold, but then she still has the option of taking off a layer if she gets hot. So we are getting blown. It's 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour behind us, getting pushed nicely along. You can see there even Lucy's dragging her paddle to get a bit of balance. So this is when downwinding really starts to come into its own, just moving downwind effortlessly, a few paddle strokes here and there, the boards just pick up speed and you glide downwind. You can see it's getting a bit choppier behind us now. The great thing about paddling like this is you're staying together, you can chat, it's really social, it's very easy, and it's just really enjoyable being quite close to each other, just having a giggle, having a laugh about what's going on. Quite interesting thing here is obviously these two boards are exactly the same length and virtually the same width, but the nose shapes are completely different. The RS that I'm paddling, the white board, has a much more of a domed nose shape, and the Bullet that Lucy's paddling, the black board, has much more of a traditional long pull out surf shaped nose. The Bullet definitely is easier to pick up and ride bumps than the RS. but both boards work really well in these sort of conditions and they're a lot of fun to paddle. But the Bullet is really a beautiful board to paddle downwind and just for general recreational fast touring really. So this is probably the 4th or 5th time Lucy's been downwinding, and it's nice to catch these little bumps, get a bit more speed, and definitely do it in an estuary sense like this. So it's getting choppier now, way more chop, more white water, more foam you can see on the right hand side. There you can see I'm clearly getting blown by having my paddle up in the air. The good thing to do is when you are downwinding, you want to use the windage as much as possible. So when you're not paddling, put your paddle out to the side, let the wind catch your paddle blade and help push you downwind. There you can see the nose on the RS there, really just holding it, and the Bullet, the nose sticks up a lot higher, so it's a lot more of a drier board, the Bullet, than the RS would be. You'll find that when you're downwinding on these sort of boards or any longer base board, there will be times where one person will be in front and then you'll drop back and the other person might be in front as they catch little bumps and glides, like you can see Lucy here accelerating away on a tiny little bump. These boards, these bigger boards, these 14-foot boards do pick up absolutely anything. It's amazing and it's such good fun to do. I told her she'd be too hot with that neoprene coat on, and she was, so just showed her to take it off. But it's quite interesting, it shows you how windy it is here. Not paddling, how fast she's moving downwind without paddling. Quite interesting, I said in the first video how it isn't great to have stuff on your board. Well, ideally it wouldn't have too much on your board, but in this situation and on the Bullet, it's quite a dry board. Having stuff under the bungees was not a problem at all for this sort of lighter estuary downwinding. And you can see it's really not getting in the way there at all. Catching a few little bumps. Just a little good one there. Now obviously if you wanted to paddle really fast flat out the whole time, you could do. You could be going maybe twice as fast most of the time. But downwinding is about picking up little bumps. It's about enjoying the concept of trying to find those little bumps and really using the swell to your advantage, not just sprinting downwind the whole time. We get to paddle past the Navy training boat here. Swell, now we're coming into a bit more of a closed estuary. It's getting slightly narrowed down the point ahead of us. Real classic case of why it's good to paddle in a pair, and if you're paddling in a pair, being close together. There's a group of boats in front of us and they can easily see us there together, standing together, and we look like we know what we're doing. So we now got to paddle a little bit across the wind to get shelter to go to our exit point where we left the van. A little bit of a paddle sideways, but not too much. We're still going downwind. And now you can see we're in the shelter of the land. The swell's dropped off. The water's even started to go slightly glacier. But then we get round the corner and we've got that tiny bit of headwind just to get back to the van, to get back home. This is where, if you haven't done drafting before, drafting is a very good idea. If you've got a paddle upwind, just get behind somebody, do some drafting. It really makes a difference if you get right behind the paddler. And also take it in turns, let the other person go behind. It makes a massive difference, especially if you've got a tired paddler in the group. Put the person with more energy at the front and get the person who's tired to be really close behind on that person's tail. So lovely, no wind where we got out, back up to the van, and then all we have to do, put the kit back on the roof and then drive back to the other location and pick the car up. And then just as we're getting all the boards on the roof and everything, it starts tipping it down and raining again. So our timing was completely perfect. Happy days, get warm, go back, have a cup of tea, or if the sun was out, probably go to the pub for a quick shandy. Really hope you found that video informative and it's inspired you and given you a bit of confidence to give downwinding a go. It's so much fun downwinding, and 90% of you paddlers out there are definitely ready to give downwinding like this a go.